From the first milestone to the next, women's health and wellness have always been at the heart of innovation. At Alpha Startups Accelerator INNO for Her, we're empowering startups to shape a better future for women. Whether you're building solutions for menstrual health, personalized healthcare, or beyond, this is your moment to innovate. Every woman's journey begins with the milestones of growing up, like menstrual health. We're looking for innovations that empower women at every age. With the right solutions, women can take control of their reproductive health, from fertility to contraception. Maternal health is essential. Innovative solutions can make the journey from preconception to postpartum safer and easier. As women transition through menopause, innovative solutions are key to maintaining quality of life and empowerment. From wearable tech to smart health devices, empowering women with technology is the future. Are you ready to transform the future of women's health and wellness? Apply for the Elite Ventures Alpha Startups Accelerator INNO for Her. Join the accelerator to gain access to mentoring sessions with industry experts to guide your growth, support to help you reach product market fit and successfully launch, digital credits to kickstart your startup, fundraising support, connecting you with a network of investors.
Alpha Startups for Women!
Apply now. Registration closes on February 6th.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome everyone. So my name is Lermin from 1337 Ventures, and we are again glad to welcome every one of you to today's webinar. So this webinar is in conjunction with Alpha Startup Inno for Her program, the platform for innovators in FemTech and female-focused solutions. So no matter which stage you are in at your startup, we welcome your applications venturing into female technology solutions. So by launching Inno for Her, I think it is our commitment to bridge the gap for FemTech sectors. So we are interested and looking for solutions in these six key areas, which are personalized healthcare, menstrual health innovations, menopause and aging solutions, advanced maternal care, fertility and reproductive health solutions, and wearable technologies for women health. So for the applicants and for those individuals who wish to start and venture or already ventures into these six key focus solutions, we are more than welcome for your applications. So in last week, we have already explored the topics of menstrual health, which is also the foundational stage of every woman journey and also the first milestone in becoming a woman. So today we will take the next step in this journey, focusing on women stepping into adulthood, where career often is becoming a defining aspect of their life. So in these sessions, we have Sherry, the co-founder from Wahine Capital. So these sessions will focus on empowering women at work, addressing the unique challenges they face in the workplace, and exploring strategy to support their health and well-being as they navigate through professional and also personal growth. So we are privileged to have one of the powerful women co-founder today, Sherry, a seasoned professional and passionate advocate for women's rights. So Sherry brings 17 years of experience in capital market, policy making, law and regulations from her tenure at the Security Exchange Malaysia. She later transitioned to champion women's human rights, focusing on issues such as family law, children rights, and gender equality. So as a co-founder of Wahine Capital, she now focuses on empowering women financially by equipping them with tools and knowledge to secure their futures. So without further ado, I will welcome Sherry to share her insight on empowering women at work and how we can tackling the challenges of women face across this critical stage of life, careers to aging gracefully. So I will welcome Sherry.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Lamin. So as an introduction to what Wahine Capital is, firstly, actually, Lamin, thank you. You gave me a very generous introduction. And I'd like to just mention a little bit about Wahine Capital. Our focus has been on empowering women financially because we feel the financial aspect is very important in maintaining wellness generally. So when we look at money and how it works to make us better people, allow us to have better choices and better access to all the consumer and even health products out there. So that will be my sort of focus throughout the presentation. We'll start with what women face at the career. Maybe we can go to the next slide. we will start by talking about the financial vulnerabilities that women have generally. So women, just by being a woman, have very unique financial vulnerabilities, and we are at higher risk of vulnerabilities. And this cuts across all our spaces where we operate, whether at work or at home or in society. And the reasons behind it are really many. It could be cultural. It could be just that we are not, economically as viable as men. It could be just general biases that are, out there and are entrenched already within our society. So the reasons are many, and they can cut across. So for example, if you're vulnerable in your health, the issue of financing is also another point of vulnerability. And so I think the issue also is that there is a conflation of many points of vulnerability that create this higher risk for women. So if we go to the next slide, generally, only about 52% of women are working in the formal job market. When I mentioned the formal job market is job where you are employed formally, where you have a contract or you are officially employed by the employer. And this is compared to about 78% men. A lot of women, because of the flexibility it provides, also are in the informal job market. But the danger of the informal job market is that there are no safety nets, at least not within the labor laws in Malaysia currently. So basically, you don't have any, social services, you don't get EPF and those kind of protections that become much more necessary as you mature in age. The next slide. So let's talk about why women are fairly low in terms of participation. The percentage of women's participation generally just hovers around 52%, maybe comes to about 60% in some years, but it doesn't really go up very high at any point in time. And a lot of it is due to care work that is required of women at home. When we mention care work, it relates to caring for children, and at a later age, usually around my age, then we have to also start thinking about caring about parents, even caring about siblings or in-laws. Is usually the primary caregiver in all these situations are women. So it does affect women's participation in the labor market. So participation, if you look at the chart, the graph that shows women's participation in the job market, it drops significantly at the childbearing age. And so there is usually early retirement around that age, around 30s and 40s. And the reasons are childcare or elderly care, and more layoffs happen to women than men. And from there, women opt for part-time and contractual jobs. Another issue that has also been brought up, this is a UNDP research, and they talk about occupational segregation, which means that certain occupations are much more given to women compared to men. So in the services sector, your frontline, your receptionist, your waitress, your nurses, those are jobs that are more usually given to women. So easier to get for women to get jobs there, whereas jobs like engineering or scientists, those might be a bit more difficult for women. So there is another barrier. Even though you have the education, you might not be able to access that job simply because of your gender. So this is what the research is showing, and it is more acute in middle age. And also this research also talks about women migrating. I don't think the statistics are very clear on this, but it seems to show that a lot more women are migrating. We don't know the reasons, but most likely it's also related to possible career advancement opportunities. Next slide, please. The top reasons that are given for reasons why I think we mentioned it before. Top reasons why women do leave work is childcare. Marriage is another reason. Husband's request or supporting husband's career. So I think this is where the gendered roles come in. Women are expected to be the person at home, caring for everything at home, including the husband. And if you have a job, it has to accommodate all these responsibilities. So a lot of women find that balancing home and work becomes too much of a burden at a certain point of their career. I mean, as you age, you may have more children, you may have more responsibilities at home, you may have a bigger home to take care of, you may have children, going to school that you have to take care of, and then in your career also you will have more responsibilities. You probably be more at a managerial role, where your time is much more required for you to be hands-on at work. And the way that our work culture doesn't allow for that flexibility. So for that reason also, a lot of women feel that just juggling between the two is just too difficult, and so they make a choice, and usually that choice is to do the job that is required of them, which is to be at home and care for everything that is in the home. And next slide, please. And the other issue that women face also is the gender pay gap. So the gender pay gap is real. Women are paid about 33% less, almost consistently throughout the years. Sometimes the gap largens a bit, sometimes it reduces, but it just stays around there. You can see the chart here. The blue is the female and the red is the male. So the male is always, a little bit above the male. So there are, part of it is again the gender stereotype, but also I think women's attitudes at work, in terms of negotiating for salary and pay rise and promotion. They're a bit more passive. So at the end, if you're paid 33% less throughout your career, you have about 30% less at retirement. But the fact is that women have a longer lifespan. So women average at about 4.5 years. Women live an average of 4.5 years longer than men. And I think the third box here mentions about stereotypes. So this has been my experience, not me personally. Thankfully, I had very supportive bosses, but a lot of women have come to me to say that they didn't get their pay rise because their boss thought if they had a choice between a man and a woman, they should give it to the man because the man has to pay for the whole family, and so requires a higher salary from there. So these kind of reasonings still shows to the kind of stereotypes that are out there in society. Next next slide. The career ladder is also more steep for women. So as you go up the career ladder, there are fewer and fewer women, about 40% women in managerial roles and 28% women in directorships of large companies. I think if you look at Bursa Malaysia, it took many years to reach 30% of women in boards of the top 100 PLCs. It was such a challenge until Bursa Malaysia took on a name or shame sort of approach. Then only companies started, taking it seriously and looking for women to fill up the positions. But I think the issue that groups like 30% Club and all found is that it's not necessarily the lack of capacity, but the fact that women approach work perhaps a bit different, and it's more the work culture that cannot accommodate, having different viewpoints because of gender. Generally, I think research shows that women tend to make decisions which favor community, which favor the marginalized, and men make decisions for the bottom line. And so I think these kind of differentiations, if they can exist together, it would be great. But I think that's one of the issues that a lot of companies out there face in terms of making a seamless transition to having a 30% of women on the boards. The next slide. Gender discrimination is a very serious issue. It's actually illegal. We have we have laws on gender discrimination, but it still happens. We have some statistics here that 47% of women asked about their marital status. Strictly speaking, you shouldn't be asked. It shouldn't make a difference. They don't ask men whether they are married. It makes no difference to a man, so it shouldn't make a difference whether a woman is married. Sexual harassment also. This is a reason why a lot of women leave work, actually. Sexual harassment at the workplace, and it affects women disproportionately. I think this issue became front and center with the Me Too movement, and so it's now within the societal fabric in terms of our our knowledge and awareness about it. But it still is quite prevalent. The Women's Aid Organization does surveys from time to time, which shows that it is still quite a prevalent issue, and also an issue that is quite difficult to report and get any action taken by the employer on this issue. So a lot of the time it's dealt with through very informal ways, or the woman leaves, or something which might not actually bring us to a situation where sexual harassment becomes a serious issue, and an issue that all employers take seriously. And 1 in 5 women are asked if they could perform the task as a woman. So I mean, the obvious example, at one point in time in Malaysia, women were not allowed to work at night. There was actually a law that disallowed women to work at night, and they cited security reasons, or because the place is dark and it could be dangerous for women, and that's understandable. But I think if you look at it from a gender equality perspective, the issue is not to disallow women, but to introduce interventions, or put more lights, or have a guard there, or something to allow an environment where it is safe for women, and then you can allow for equal choice between men and women in terms of how and where they work. All right, so I think those are generally the kind of overview of women's situation space. So let's move on to aging and retirement in the next slide. So I think I mentioned before that generally we earn 30% less, which generally means we have 30% less on retirement. A lot of women rely on EPF solely as their retirement fund. But EPF has also warned that 97% of EPF members do not have the minimum recommended to live in KL. So, only 3% can comfortably retire as of now, which is a very worrying statistic. And there is a lot of recognition that women should have more retirement savings because they have a longer lifespan. And generally, women have higher medical costs and lower risk appetite. I think that's arguable now, given the new generation. I think they're looking at different options in terms of investment, etc. But just to go into the cost of health, I think the statistics show that it's about at least 30% more in terms of women's health costs, and it spans throughout the lifetime, as you all know, from when you are a teenager all the way till when you are much older. And a lot of the focus has been on sexual and reproductive health care for women, but we'll look at other issues that affect women also in a short while. But generally, insurance, health insurance is more expensive for women, because there is this thing called the pink tax. So wellness products, generally from your skincare to supplements to everything connected to caring for yourself, your hair products, everything has also an added tax to it. So, even deodorant is more expensive for women than men. Face wash is more expensive for women than men. And so generally women incur higher costs throughout their life. So in short, women earn less but need more money. The next slide, let's look at the challenges in retirement. So we mentioned that women generally have limited financial resources, less financially literate, and so they do less of financial planning throughout their lifetime. They do less of investment throughout their lifetime, and this includes retirement planning. And for married women, from our experience in Wahine Capital, a lot of women actually are wholly reliant on their husbands. They're women who are having a successful career, well educated, but they have that level of trust where they don't have an idea of what the husband has provided for retirement, both as a couple. So I think that is something that we at Wahine Capital is trying to change, so that at least you enter into the conversation and you understand, you know, whether you can afford it, what kind of life you can afford, you know, whether you can still afford to live and upkeep your house, or whether you need to, you know, consider something smaller, and so on and so forth. These are the kind of questions that should come into retirement planning, because, you know, because if you have financial constraints, then you need to have a reality check in terms of how you want to live your life after you have your 9 to 5 job, after you have your monthly salary, you know, no longer coming into your bank account. The third issue is that women have a longer lifespan. I think we mentioned about 4.5 years and more money needed. So there is also another statistic to show, if you're a married woman, most likely you will have about a decade of being a woman. This is because women usually marry older men, and then on top of that, we live longer. So, you know, you probably have about a decade where you no longer have a partner. And this is a very vulnerable, dangerous point in life, actually, because for a lot of widows, what happens is that this is the first time that they have to manage all the financial issues. First time they meet a banker, first time they meet a lawyer, and so on and so forth. So elderly abuse is also something that we talk about in Wahine Capital, where suddenly you might find strangers in your life who, you know, take advantage of you financially, because I mean, the fact is that you don't know any better in terms of how to care for yourself financially at this age. The fourth issue is higher cost in health. We talked about that. Aging issues, obviously you require much more support as you age, and then you know, health and disease comes into the picture as you age also. In Malaysia, we have very limited elderly care and support services. I think you're seeing it increasing slowly, but yeah, it is very slow. So generally, we have to rely on, you know, the next generation, the children. But also reality is that children are now, you know, maybe they're moving abroad, or they have a very full life, and they cannot spend the time or money on their parents, or the parents themselves don't want to be too reliant on their children. So this is an area that is developing quite fast in terms of elderly care, palliative care, you know, homes for the elderly, and so on and so forth. And I mentioned diminished traditional family structures as well. Yeah, so again, previously, you know, it would be quite normal for a parent to move in with the children. When the children, you know, have a house and all. This is no longer you know, as common as before, and even the elderly don't want to do it anymore, so they have to, you know, start looking at ways to provide for themselves at that age. And we also mentioned widowhood and elderly abuse. I have a quote in the next slide, if you just move to it, to show the level of vulnerability that women face. So in this is from the Brookings Gender Equality series. In 2017, among elderly women, the poverty rate was 4.3% for those who were married, and it rises to 13.9% for widows, 15.8% for divorced women, and the highest is actually for single women, for women who are never married, at 21.5%, where the, you know, in terms of poverty rate. So poverty and aging for women is directly related. which is why I think, if you're still having a good career, then I think focus on that and don't give up, your career too early. Make sure all your savings and your investments are in place, and so think of the future when you're young. All right, let's move to the next slide. Right. Now we're going into what we call the women's health gap. So there is a gap even in the health space. The women's health gap equates to 75 million years of life lost due to poor health or early death each year. Closing the gap would give 3.9 billion women in the world an extra of 7 healthy days a year, or 500 days over a lifetime. I found this statement in one of the WEF reports. I was shocked. I didn't realize that it was, quite as serious as this. Definitely, it affects the marginalized, but I think this report shows that it is much more, widespread in terms of the effect of the health gap. And the next slide. And the next slide shows that women spend more on healthcare. I mentioned that before. We don't have exact numbers in Malaysia. I don't think thorough research has been done in Malaysia. So we have a lot of references abroad in the US and UK. They've done a lot of research on this. I think they are very much ahead in the FemTech space as well. So in the UK, for example, they're spending about 1.5 billion pounds more than men on medical related expenses. And the next slide. So let's look at the effects of this health gap then presents itself to women, and why it is so. So I think if you're been reading all because I'm currently going through all this perimenopause, symptoms, I've started really delving into the research in relation to women's health, and a lot of the research in terms of illnesses that occur both to men and women. A lot of the research is based on men's bodies. And this is the reason why now there is evidence to show that there's a lot of misdiagnoses for diseases like heart disease or ADHD, autism, and so on, because because this disease affects both men and women. A lot of the research has been centered around men and boys, and so women's bodies are different. Women have different hormones, and the way we react to even medication is different, and this is still not satisfactory in terms of medical research. The third issue that has also been shown is that there's late diagnosis. Again, please forgive me, this is not Malaysian research, because I haven't seen very holistic Malaysian-based research on these kind of issues. If you know any, please send them to me. So the other issue is late diagnosis. And they average about 4 to 5 years longer than men. And the late diagnosis of all related to, the kind of knowledge that the medical fraternity have on women's bodies. Poorer pain management. So this is again a combination of, not knowing women's bodies, but also, this idea that women whine a lot, complain a lot, louder than men, or so when women go in and complain about pain, many times also they are told that oh, you're just making too big a deal, take your Panadol and it should be okay, when actually it requires much more serious medication than just your normal paracetamol. And the last one are all the female issues which have not been looked into very seriously. Endometriosis, uterine fibroids, menopause are all conditions with high unmet needs. I actually have my own experience, so I have. Let me share a little bit about my own health issue. Thankfully, nothing too serious, but I had a fibroid adenoma, it's called, in my breast when I was in my early 20s. So, I went to a surgeon, he took it out, and then, a few years later, another one appeared. And throughout the years, I have had to have annual ultrasound on my breast because the fibroids always appear. They're always, every year I will find new ones, and the old ones might shrink, and so on and so forth. So that is a yearly one. And then when I was in my 30s, I had my first baby, and that was fine. But when I was trying for my second baby, I could not get pregnant, and the doctor diagnosed endometriosis. And so he treated the endometriosis, and I managed to get pregnant. And now that I'm in my late 40s and 50s, I'm starting to get cysts in my ovaries. I have a cyst in my ovary. I think I have something in my uterus. And they're all the female organs, right? And I have never had a doctor. All the different doctors that I have met, even the gynae, I have never had someone who connected everything, all these different issues, to help me manage it until recently. So what has happened recently, I think, is that the wellness industry for women in particular has developed quite fast. So when you see a wellness doctor, they look at things like hormones, they look at things like adequacy of minerals and other vitamins in your body and how that affects your body. So only when I started talking to these kind of doctors that they have made that connection, that maybe my hormones are, I don't know, out of whack or something, then I need to take it this way. And it could have started at the age of 20. It doesn't mean that just because you're young that your hormones are stable. And so now I'm looking at this issue of how to regularize my hormones. But I mean, I had to go through all this without knowing what was the cause of it, or what I could have done to just not have to go through this. So I think this is one of the examples that I have. Luckily, it wasn't something more serious. I think there are a lot of women out there that are facing very, very serious diseases that also, I think, they don't look at the fact that your body is a woman's body, and that it might be different from how a man reacts to a disease. If we go to the next slide. So the women's health gap in Malaysia is very much concentrated on sexual and reproductive health. If we talk about women's health in Malaysia, a lot of it is related to maternal care, or period care, or menopause. Not yet lah, not so much yet, but slowly growing, I think. But these kind of sexual and reproductive health medical interventions, and in this space, the availability of sexual reproductive health, the concentration is always on allowing women good access to medical services, but it can be more challenging to a group of women like unmarried women. If you go to, I think, public clinics, the family planning clinics, it may be difficult to get family planning medication, because I hear a lot of feedback that, they require the husband's permission, for example, to get what do you call it? Family planning type medication. So that might be an issue. Young people, LGBTI people, migrant workers, and indigenous people. So basically, and the last three categories are the more marginalized in our society. But even unmarried and young people have issues, and it's due to cultural, religious, legal, and financial barriers that affect this group of people. And another area that hasn't been given enough focus is gender-based violence and healthcare for gender-based violence. It's not just about domestic violence, but I think now we are looking at different kinds of gender-based violence that are, prevalent in our society in Malaysia. Can we go to the next slide? So the next slide, I brought this slide up specifically because, like I said, if we look at Malaysia and a lot of other countries, Malaysia is not the only one, but if we look at Malaysia, the concentration has always been on sexual and reproductive health. But if you look at this chart, in terms of health, women's health burden, you can see there that only 5% are related to women's specific conditions like maternal and gynecological conditions. So if you see, the largest percentage is connected to conditions that affect women disproportionately. So it affects both men and women, but it affects women disproportionately, such as headache disorders, autoimmune disease, and depression. And I think this is a conversation that we, need to have a deeper conversation on these kind of health problems that affect women and why it disproportionately affect women, and what kind of intervention, medical intervention, is best considering that you are a woman. The other issue is, the darker blue is the 43%, which stems from conditions that do not affect women disproportionately. That means I think the effect is more or less equal, although that is not, that is based on current evidence. But it probably requires a different medical intervention to women, such as heart disease. So heart disease, diabetes, all these kind of diseases, the general thinking is that it affects men more, strokes and all. It affects men more than women. But I think a lot of women are now realizing, a lot of research is also finally showing, and I think if you look around also, it's beginning to show quite clearly that as you age, that these diseases such as heart disease are quite prevalent among women. So menopause actually increases the risk of heart disease for women. And I don't think I've heard this, being said to me at any point until maybe the last 5 years when I started researching menopause and the dangers of these the changes that you go through in menopause and what kind of health issues that you need to look out for because of menopause. And the other, the smaller, the 4% is from conditions that affect women differently, such as colon cancer and atrial fibrillation and so on. So these are the kind of, I think, issues that have not been in the, I think, in the general conversation when we talk about health. But hopefully, will be developed as we go along. I think there is, at least in the States, there's a lot more concentration on getting more investments into women's health, and that includes FemTech. So with more money, obviously you get more research, and then the awareness and the knowledge can go out. But from our perspective, part of the issue is also for women to become financially viable throughout their life cycle, so that we can actually be a community that demands for these services. So I think if you look even a decade ago, even 10 years ago, nobody talked about your hot sweats of menopause, your hot flashes and brain fog and this and that. But now it's quite common knowledge, at least among my generation. It's quite common knowledge. You can easily get it. There's a lot of information out there from very good doctors, who have delved into this issue of how the hormonal changes happening to women throughout their lifetime actually affect their bones, their muscles, their brain health, their internal organs, so on and so forth. So that's something that we can look forward to hopefully improving as the years go by. So it's your generation that needs to really start calling out for greater attention on women's health. And the last slide that I have is just a little bit of maybe advice in terms of at the end of the day, aging is something that we can't run away from. So let's try and age with grace and joy. From our perspective, having a retirement fund is crucial for your physical and mental health. And don't just rely on EPF, and start thinking about it at a very young age, because at this point in time, if you're in your 30s now, by the time you reach your 60s, I think the public level support might be under a lot of pressure, because there are a lot more older people in Malaysia. I'm sure we have an aging society. So, there will probably be a lot more self-reliance in terms of caring for yourself compared to, relying on government or other kind of social services that might be out there. So accumulate your assets and wealth in your working years and invest in the long term. And we ask for people to invest, because your salary might not be able to overcome the rising rate of inflation, cost of living, and so on. And get a health insurance plan. And don't rely on your employer's health benefits, because once you stop working, and then only then, if you start thinking of health insurance, it will be very costly for you. So if you get it when you're in your 20s or 30s, it's fairly cheap. So might as well get it now and just pay the premium as you go along. But it will save you money in the long run. Secondly, practice self-care. Tune in with your body. Don't ignore symptoms. Don't wait until you get sick. Stay active. Eat healthy. Get enough sleep. Sleep as now, everybody talks about getting enough sleep. Even you have your watch to tell you how good your sleep was and how long your sleep was, and it's become like the cornerstone of self-care. Prevention is better than cure. So practice regular checkups. And supplements. I'm really, buying into getting the right kind of supplements, understanding yourself so that you can actually supplement yourself, and getting to the right kind of level where you can perform to your fullest. And this issue of menopause, your hot flashes, your brain fog, tiredness, and I am getting things like a lot of injuries from my usual exercise routine is now giving me injuries. And so I've started looking at how to increase my protein level so that my recovery of my muscles is faster. So there are a lot of ways to go about it. It's not just medical intervention. I think the other issue to consider is that for a lot of these things, like especially menopause, it's not covered by either public hospitals or your health insurance. So this is again a reason to have a comfortable retirement fund so that you don't need to hold back on things like that will make your quality of life better. And lastly, your mental health. Growing old is like a real bummer. It's not great. I complain about it a lot. I think my children will know. But at the end of the day, you have to embrace the change, both in body, in your mind, and in the environment around you. Your life will change. The way you live will change. The people around you will change. And you have to change with it. Be socially active. Depression is very much related with aging, loneliness, and it can lead to, diseases like dementia. So be socially active and be productive. Continue working for as long as you can. If you don't want to work full time, then go for a part-time job or volunteer or have hobbies and other interests just to keep your mind and your body active. That's a little bit of advice from me, who's in my mid-50s. So I've been through more than half of my lifetime. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Thank you very much. And I hope you found the information useful. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Seri, for your sharing. I think not only on the challenges of women face in their career, but also the insights into the women's healthcare. But I think the more grateful for me is also your personal experience. I think that's what makes these sessions more valuable. Yeah. So I think we can open the space for Q&A. For those who have questions, feel free to type in the chat box. Or if you want to unmute yourself to ask your questions, also can. Okay, I think we have one question from Shanaz. So Shanaz is a co-founder or CEO of a tech startup in Cyberjaya. They have developed a Geo AI decision support system localized to Malaysia. However, they would like to delve into FemTech. So in your opinion, the question is, in your opinion, what could be the most vital problem statement in FemTech in Malaysia that may need a decision support system?
I think it's the issue of not having enough, in my opinion, enough research on women's bodies. That I think is crucial as a foundation to delve into much better. I think the reason why the industry is burgeoning right now, at least in terms of having information providers, doctors sharing information online or things like that, is because that there is a sudden realization that women age differently from men. Women want to also have different kinds of medical intervention. Women want to have certain types of lifestyle choices in terms of what they want to do with their bodies. So I feel that is the most important, that I needs to be ironed out, prior to. I mean, if a doctor tells me something which is generic, I tend to get really annoyed nowadays. If you're not talking to me as a woman, and what my body can or cannot accommodate, or so then I get very, I lose interest in the doctor, quite honestly. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Shanas, I hope that answer your questions, or you have any follow-up that you would like to ask. Feel free to
Hi.
ask. So, yeah.
Thank you very much. That about covers it because it's in line with the whole presentation just now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shanas, for your question.
Next
Okay.
question is, in your opinion, which phases need most innovative solutions? And also what solutions you have seen that you find really impressive?
I was just, thanks, Nara. I was just having a conversation with Lermin, actually, that I personally have not been using any FemTech solutions as yet, because I actually haven't. So when I was younger, when I was having, on my endometriosis and all these FemTech, things were not available yet. So now at my current age, my issue is menopause, and I haven't found anything which comfortably, totally, and easily meets my needs. So that's one issue. But I think in terms of solutions, women's health is very, very, it's throughout the lifetime. I have a niece who has serious period problems, pain. She needs to take between 2 to 3 days of work at times. So this is very, it has a great impact on her productivity. She's looking for, and I think solutions, you get solutions when you talk to other women. When you talk to other women who have had the same experience or tried different kind of medical interventions, then only you start, okay, maybe I'll try that, or maybe I'll try this. And it ranges between, surgery or medication, all the way to supplements, and drinking something boiled, or some Chinese medicine, or something like that. So different things work for different conditions. I think each phase of a woman's life, I think maternal care is another area that requires a lot of attention. I think maternal care has received a lot of support already. So giving birth, as well as after that, in terms of breastfeeding and how you're caring for your children also, the gap is somewhat smaller, I feel, than other sort of women's diseases. In my case, my fibroid adenoma, there was absolutely no explanation why it happened to my body, how it happened, how to stop it. There was zero explanation given to me. The endometriosis, so I mean, they just say it just happens, or something like that it's your body kind of thing. I am not sure whether I think you would have gotten a better answer, possibly, if you were a man with a disease so prevalent, such as endometriosis. So yeah, I think I don't think we can zone into one phase. I think every phase in women's health requires innovation and solutions. Yeah.
At different phase, we need different solutions.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Do we have any more questions from the audience?
No, it doesn't. who are the local doctors you have found to be insightful on the cutting edge as far as women's health is concerned? The gynaes that I've always had male gynaes, not because they're men, but just because they just happen to be the people that I chose. I had one woman gynae. My first child, I had a woman gynae. I wasn't too happy with her. I was more happy with my male gynae. Yeah, so I don't think gender gender is the issue here. What I'm finding is that there are just because you're a gynae doesn't mean you know about conditions that affect women more. So you have your, education in sexual and reproductive care, but when you talk to them about hormones and all, I didn't find gynaes to be useful in that space. I think in the last decade also, a lot of gynaes have gone into issues like women's hormone and managing women's hormone and all. But also there's a new category of these. They might be GPs, or they might be what do you call it? Even the aesthetic doctors who have also delved into this hormones and menopause issues because there is a growing demand in that area. For me now, I just need to look for a doctor that is making sense to me, who's talking sense, who can join the dots in a sensible way and offer some solutions to me, solutions which are not too intrusive, because I don't want surgeries, I don't want a scope inside me or anything like that, unless I absolutely have to, but solutions that can give me a better functional medicine. But so I had another experience that I can share. I was in one of the leading hospitals. I had my normal regular checkup, and then they discovered that I had a cyst in my one of my cancer markers was high, and that cancer marker is connected to ovarian cancer. And so there was a whole hullabaloo. I had to do 100 tests to look at what the reason why that cancer marker was high. And so that doctor just kept me going test after test after test. In the end, I got fed up and I went to another doctor, which was highly recommended. He was a gynae, and he looked at the scans and whatnot, and he said, no, don't worry, this is high because this cancer marker, although it's connected to your liver or kidney, I can't remember exactly, it's a result of the fact that I have an ovarian cyst, because it is connected and whatnot. So it's these kind of explanations sometimes that don't get you in the whole panic mode, to think that something is very wrong with you, right? So I don't know whether that was just how they talk about hospitals trying to get money out of you by asking you to go through 100 tests and whatnot. So I don't know what the issue was there, but it gave me a great scare when it was actually something with a quite easy explanation if you knew about how things in one part of your body affects the other part of your body. Yeah. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Kei.
I think we have no.
Can I just chime in quickly?
Yep.
Hi, Sherry. Thanks for sharing.
You're welcome. Thank
yeah,
you. Who am I speaking to?
Just wanted to know your comment. For example, like some of these apps in US, right, in particular, where they collect a lot of data for women from users, right, can be quite predatory, like you said, right, making you pay more for things, unnecessary things and things like that. We already know in terms of products, women already pay the pink tax, right? We pay more for products, and anything that's marketed to women is a price a bit higher and things like that. So in terms of like in this space of like collection of women's health data and things like that, is there actually a concern as to like, this being abused? Because unfortunately in Malaysia as well, our personal data protection is not great. Our record has not been great. And I think that, in terms of not just locally in Malaysia, but also in the region, like, is there a concern as to like collection of, women's health data in that sense, and whether that is actually being used in a purposeful manner and not subject to abuse? That's one thing. And then also to prevent sort of like that predatory initiatives in that sense, right, to capitalize on it and then to sort of push down more either services or products in that sense, to essentially like that sort of fear mongering, like, there could be something. Of course, granted, Malaysian health overall is also not great. That's also another angle, men and women. But in that sense that, there's definitely that concern as to like, while we want more information, and that information is supposed to help us, there's also the danger of what that information is used for, right? And in your experience, do you think there's a concern? What guardrails do we have in place? I think is really the key here, right? Is the government doing anything? Are we working with ministry? That sort of angle. I'm not in this industry myself, but I am genuinely curious.
Yeah. So I know there was an effort by the government about 3 years ago, where they wanted to link all medical records across hospitals. And one of the issues there was the privacy of health information, privacy of personal and health information. So I don't know whether that is progress. So I think for me, definitely that privacy is critical. But when you go to, I would expect the same level of privacy from when you go to a doctor as well. So your privacy is not compromised when you meet a doctor face to face, right? I would expect the same level of privacy if I were to go through a digital platform for any particular reason. I don't think the laws have been developed there. I don't think there is a global standard in terms of health data privacy. I haven't seen one personally myself. One of the reasons why I'm not using apps either, because even, like you said, even sharing things like how much I sleep or how well I sleep or things like that, you just do some research on sleep, for example, and then suddenly you get all the feeds on Instagram, right, in terms of how to improve your sleep, right? So I have an issue in that. I don't think it's being well managed, but I think there also has to be a balance, because the benefit of it is there as well. So are we curtailing benefit more than having the solutions? I'm not in the industry either. I don't know where the balance should be struck, but if I'm talking about myself on a personal level, I don't mind that you don't know. I don't mind that some very basic health information about me, but if it's very detailed information, I think that would trouble me greatly, and especially when other feeds come into my social media or something pushing me stuff. That's quite scary. I get scared even when it's not health related. So what more when it's my health? I don't think that's a great answer.
No, it's fine. I just wanted to hear, whether we've heard anything. I think that,
but I think that was one of the major reasons why they felt such a barrier to go. You know, what they wanted to do was they wanted to digitalize medical records in all public hospitals and private hospitals, I think, and share it so that every time you go to a medical practitioner, he will have a whole medical history, your whole medical history, so you don't have to go through your whole medical history again. Or, you know, if you have, for example, if you have a serious disease like cancer, you might be seeing 3 or 4 doctors, and you know, you need to, and they might be in different hospitals, so sharing records again is a problem sometimes. So they wanted to create a platform where you could share all those information. And one of the barriers, I think, was this issue of privacy. And I'm not sure how far it's gone so far in terms of this project, but it was quite a large, I think, government level project.
I think convincing the public would be quite an endeavor as well. I think the messaging is also quite important in that sense, if there's something that they plan to do.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, there's a bit of, you know, concern from the public. Definitely the public will be you know, very worried in that sense.
Yeah.
So I think setting out the information out there, the messaging is one thing, and then to demonstrate the kind of guardrails that we have in place would probably give some comfort to people if we tend to do anything similar. And this will probably go the same in terms of like any app or information gathering, you know, in terms of like, you know, collecting this kind of data as well, and to not make it essentially like predatory, right? You know, especially targeting women in that sense, as you say.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think health is probably as sensitive as, you know, things like your legal information, for example. You know, when you deal with lawyers as well, you know, these are all barriers of these kind of services going completely digitalized, right? So they need to find a solution where you can reach a balance between privacy and the use of digital solutions. Yeah, it's a difficult area to resolve.
Yeah. Appreciate that. Appreciate your sharing. Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Okay. Thank you, Kay, for your questions. I think we have no more questions from the chat, and I think we are also reaching the time for the sessions. So I think that will be all for today. Thank you again, Sherry, and also
Thank you, so I hope you all found it useful in terms of the information. And I am you know, a gender activist, so I might have been a bit passionate about some issues related to gender inequality. So yeah, fight the good fight.
Okay, I think you have also shared a few example and also the opportunity where people can start to tap into and start to look into, right, if they want to start something. I think that is where Alpha Style email for her platform will be relevant for those who want to start something. So you can scan the QR code, or you can just visit our website to learn more. Of course, if you want to listen more on the webinar, so upcoming for the webinar series in this Friday and also next Friday, we will have 2 more speakers, which will cover a very important woman journey as well, which is a mother, and also on aging, what would be the needs of an aging woman. Yep. So I think that will be all.
Sorry, if you could share my contact, so
Yep.
if anyone wants to get in touch with me and discuss anything further, please feel free. I'll be very happy to continue this conversation.
Yep, I think we will send out the recording. So I think in the recording email, like a post-webinar email, we can include your email address and LinkedIn, so they can reach out to you through in LinkedIn and also email.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. I think that will be all for today. Thank you again, everyone, for your participations and also your presence today. So hope you have a good remaining of the week. So enjoy your week and also enjoy your evening.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.